Today I want to talk about Michael J. Fox and his thought on a Back to the Future reboot. Now, Back to the Future is a classic film and I don't think it should be rebooted. The Back to the Future trilogy is told as well as it's going to be told. I don't think they can bring anything new to it if they did reboot it, and it's going to be far inferior to what we already have. They are beloved classics and I don't know anybody that doesn't like the movies. But with all the reboots and Hollywood running out of fresh ideas for new films, I'm sure it is on a producer's desk somewhere just waiting to be picked up off the reboot pile. It is inevitable that it will happen sooner or later, and when it does happen, well, I for one won't be interested in going to see it. I have the Back to the Future trilogy on DVD and I'm happy to rewatch them anytime I want to rewatch the films. But Michael J. Fox has given his thought on a Back to the Future reboot and if it should be done or not. There's an interview here in Variety. Michael J. Fox says a Back to the Future reboot doesn't need to exist, but do what you want, I got paid already. So that statement pretty much sums it up. It doesn't need to exist. The films are already superb and don't need to be remade. But he can stop them, and like he says, they can do what they want. He's already being paid for the films he's made. So let's go and have a look at the article. If Hollywood ever opts to reboot Back to the Future without the original cast, Michael J. Fox says he's at peace with the decision. I'm not fanatical, Fox told Variety for a recent cover story on his life and career. Do what you want, it's your movie, I got paid already. But that doesn't mean he thinks it's a good idea. Fox also believes that Robert Zemeckis, the trilogy's director and writer, and his co-writer Bob Gale wouldn't be down with it either. I don't think it needs to be, Fox added. I think Bob and Bob have been really smart about that. I don't think it needs rebooting, because are you going to clarify something? Are you going to find a better way to tell the story? I doubt it. And that is pretty much the perfect thought of this. The story of Back to the Future is a tightly well-written story that doesn't need any explaining, doesn't need any expanding, and certainly today's Hollywood writers do not have the talent to tell it better. And like he says, he doubts that it's going to be told any better than what it is. Which I don't think there will be. The story doesn't need retelling, Back to the Future doesn't need remaking, but it's an IP Hollywood hasn't brought up to be remade for a modern audience yet, so I'm sure it will get remade. So was Fox ever approached about returning to Hill Valley as a time-travelling Marty McFly after the series wrapped up with the 1990s Back to the Future Part 3? I'm sure somebody thought about it, Fox tells Variety, but I was in the early stages of Parkinson's at that point, so I don't know that I would have wanted to take it on. Right after Part 3 had done well, there might have been conversations about it, but I never got involved in them. After Part 3 done well, I'm sure there was conversations for a Part 4, but the films were done. The end of the first film said to be continued. The end of the second film said to be continued, and the end of the third film was the end. There was no reason to continue the story on there, so I think it was the right decision to stop making them at that point. And I don't think Bob Zemeckis would be willing to come back for a reboot, and I don't think he'd be happy with a reboot, but I don't know if there was anything he'd be able to do to stop it from happening. Because it is inevitable that it is going to happen. Almost everything now has been remade, reimagined, brought up to date for a modern audience, which 9 times out of 10 isn't there for the films which are being made to appeal to, and the films flop, and then Hollywood and directors, producers, actors have to come out and play the it's done for card, which is probably what would happen for a reboot of this. I think Michael J. Fox is right in this. It doesn't need to exist, but they're going to do what they want. Whether they remake it or not is up to someone who's sat in an office somewhere. But like he said, he's not fanatical about the films. He knows there's nothing he can do if and when they do decide to remake it, and he's already been paid for the job he's done on the films, and he knows no one's going to be able to do a better job as what him and Christopher Lloyd have done in the original trilogy and what Bob Zemeckis and Robert Gale have done in making it. The story of the original trilogy is almost perfection for the story they've told. It doesn't need any altering, updating or anything, and they're never going to make a reboot that's as good as or better than the original trilogy. But I'm sure someday we will get the headline Back to the Future reboot announced and there'll be a groan of sigh across the internet. because nobody wants to reboot Back to the Future. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe some people do. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think Michael J. Fox is right in saying we don't need one, but they can do what they want? Or would you like to see a Back to the Future reboot? Do let me know in the comments below. That's all from me. I'm off to make a fresh cup of tea.